hides many secrets in this quiet, peaceful place. But now, something strange is unfolding. Something that began more than 60 million years ago. Something that concerns a mysterious death.
The story sort of began back in 1991. This is an area where we spent very little time in, had the opportunity to spend much time in. So when we got the chance to do it in '91, we started prospecting the area, just essentially going up and down the hills, looking for the bone protruding out of the hill. On one day, Robert Gephardt, high school principal in East End, joined us for the day, and we showed him, generally how to go up and down the hills and what to look for. And there's no real techniques involved in finding fossils. It's essentially seeing the bone protruding out of the rock. It depends on the light of the day and the shadows, and a hell of a lot of luck.
It's just one of those moments when you decide to look down in the right place, and there was a bit of a rock outcropping by my feet. So I bent over and picked a chunk of it up, and it seemed to have a grain that was not exactly mineral or just an ordinary rock. So I went down this little wash, and there were a number of pieces of the same colored type stone. And again, looking at it, it had a characteristic that was not totally rock.
We weren't 100% certain that if it was T-Rex, and we weren't that certain whether there would be more behind the hill, because we followed the trail of bone up the slope a bit and discovered where the source was coming out of, which is a good thing to happen. And then after that, looking at the bones that were visible, we still couldn't get an idea of what it was.
The Frenchman River Valley in southwest Saskatchewan. Could it have been home to one of the most dangerous creatures ever to walk the earth? Mystery. An unknown victim. No apparent motive. No obvious cause of death. Paleontologists are earth detectives, methodically sifting for the truth.
So for about 5 minutes, I dug on either side of the tooth. On this side over here, I didn't find a tooth, but I found something that looked like a depression of a socket. That made it a little more exciting. Then to this other side here, I dug down a bit, and I found the other tooth. I found the other tooth that was same position, a little bit smaller, but same position, same angle, and was going back into bone. That automatically confirmed that we did have T-Rex, because the teeth are still in the jaw.
An actual Tyrannosaurus Rex, one that can be touched and gazed upon in wonder. For a brief moment, science must yield to simple amazement.
It was very exciting. We had to actually stop digging. We sort of looked at each other and blinked a little bit. And it's sort of like winning the Lotto 649 jackpot when it's at that 20 million mark in terms of paleontology, because everybody thinks we know so much about T-Rex, but the opposite is true. We know very little about T-Rex.
Discoveries like this don't happen every day, even if you think you know what you're looking for. And then, it's only a reminder of how much remains unsolved.
What we know about Tyrannosaurus rex is generally not as much as we would like to know. It's a very rare dinosaur. This is only the 12th half-decent specimen of Tyrannosaurus rex. It's a dinosaur that occurred, as far as we know from bones and teeth, from Saskatchewan and Alberta down to Texas and New Mexico. That's its area where we find evidence of Tyrannosaurus rex. The dinosaurs disappeared from the fossil record about 65 million years ago. At that point, the land would have been very, very low, would have been barely above sea level. Even though we were almost as far north as we are today at that point, the The land would have been covered by dense, closed, mixed forests, quite a bit of it. We would have had giant redwood trees, we would have had sycamores, we would have had a variety of other flowering plants. We might have had some palms still.
This part of the earth has changed dramatically. The Garden of Eden has given way to a hidden world. Creatures that ruled now lay as fractured skeletons, slowly being absorbed into the rock and the soil that they once casually walked upon.
When an animal dies near a river or a stream, the currents start taking the body apart and moving the skeleton around. So more often than not, rather than having a 40-foot chicken lying on its side, you have a 40-foot square egg that's rather scrambled. When we first dug this hill back to find out what direction the skeleton was going, we dug back to about here. So all indications were it was going straight back. So we removed this whole section here. Well, as we found out, the skeleton decided to take another turn and went this way. So we dug out 3 tons of dirt we didn't have to. The main object at this stage in the project is just to uncover the bones, figure out roughly what they are, plaster it up and haul it out. Any detailed work is not recommended when you're in the field.
Working from the top down, first problem is the overburden itself, the tons of dirt that have to come off the top of the T-Rex to get down to the bone bed. And associated with that, we ran into some problems. There's about 5 or 6 extremely hard clay lenses through there that are absolutely amazing. You go through 6 to 8 inches of sand or clay, like loose clay, and it's really easy to shovel out, and then all of a sudden you hit one of these lenses, and it'll take you the rest of the day with a pick to try to break through this. And then you think you're down through to sand again, and you go again hard, and all of a sudden you hit another one of these clay lenses.
Wherever we see an area where there's no bone exposed, we try to open up the channels running back through it so that we can take out manageable sized blocks. But lately, every time we do, we run into more and more bones, so that's exactly what I've done here. We moved back here and things were going along fine until all of a sudden this bone that I'm working on now showed up. So it looks like another channel here for not, unless we can get around it this way, but more than likely there'll be more bones stuck back underneath here, which is sort of what's happened to us so far.
The earth does not give up its secrets easily. Those who seek the truth have to be smart, and they have to be determined. More than 2 years have passed since the discovery, and the end is not yet in sight.
We originally thought this block was going to, we were hoping to, in some ways, take the whole block out in one piece because we just couldn't separate it naturally, all the fossils. Then we did some calculations on the size of the block and the weight of the block and realized it's going to be about 20 to 30 tons. So that automatically told us we can't do it that way. So the first problem we're going to deal with is sectioning the block up using a rock saw, which means that you try and predict the bone, the cuts in the rock with the least amount of bone, which means you're still going to have to cut through bone.
We've been telling people for a long, long time that all these things were out here, that we had a tremendous variety of dinosaurs, especially latest age of dinosaur fauna, that we knew a lot about the environments of the past, and that there was a story spanning at least the last 75 million years that was very well documented that would lead us to the present day. But now when we find Tyrannosaurus rex, a whole bunch of other people tell us, gee, we didn't realize there were dinosaurs. You mean we have dinosaurs here? So it's obvious that we have a whole new audience to educate, and that's part of the excitement of this find too, because it's going to focus those people's attention on the story that we want to tell.
A story that is bringing unexpected celebrity to the paleontologists. More than 15,000 curiosity seekers to the site, and prosperity to the small rural communities that, until now, have lived so quietly near the valley of the Great Discovery. For Tim Takarik, an almost impossible dream has been realized, and life will never be the same.
The excitement pounds, and thoughts go through your head at rapid speed. So I usually have to stop and take a smoke break and just sort of wander around a bit, sort of just calm myself down. You have to realize that you're the first human to ever see that and understand it for what it is. These things died out 65 million years ago. They're an ecosystem unto itself back then. So when you find something like this, you feel in some ways very honored and privileged. And I've done this enough. I know how much backbreaking work goes involved in the process. So right away you start thinking about how you're going to take this thing out. The list once of about 60 some odd different ideas over the past 30 years of research, ranging from UFOs and aliens to like Martians gunned down our dinosaurs, to all sorts of semi-plausible things that they died of diarrhea or something like that. It looks like 65 million years ago a meteorite hit the Earth.
We have an insatiable curiosity about these creatures from the past. Creatures so massive, some so fierce, that nothing in this world should have been able to destroy them. Yet, like all mythical giants, they are gone.
Dinosaurs, and particularly T-Rex, are popular because they're big and extinct, essentially. There's nothing in our world today that we can visually see that we can relate to something that's 40 feet long and 20 feet tall and has 8-inch serrated teeth as a slice and swallow animal. There's just nothing comparable. So because we don't have anything to grasp to compare it to, we let our imaginations go.
It was a big dinosaur, one of the biggest in this fauna. It would have been up to 15 meters, up to about 50 feet long. It would have stood almost 6 meters, almost 20 feet tall. It was a big carnivore. It was a pure carnivore, apparently. It had long, pointed teeth, serrated on the front and back edges. These teeth would have acted like a mouthful of steak knives in slicing off a big piece of flesh. The animal then would have swallowed that flesh whole. We think it would have had to swallow it whole, as a matter of fact. These hypercarnivores, like lions and things are today, don't have much grinding function in the teeth.
There's some debate whether T-Rex was an actual hunter or a scavenger. Well, when you're 40 feet long, 20 feet tall, have 3 feet of your skull as mouth with these dagger-like teeth on it, you eat anything you want. You know, it's like the old gorilla joke, you know, what do you feed a gorilla? Anything it wants. You know, when it's already dead, fine, it's a free meal. If he has to go for a short spurt and get it, that's fine too. There's plenty of food around for him to eat. And we just imagine the T-Rex hunting another dinosaur. You either die from impact from a 5.5-ton animal chasing you, or you die from bleeding to death from the teeth. So, such was the life of the Cretaceous period 65 million years ago.
We know very little about Tyrannosaurus's day-to-day life. We have some clues, but they're mostly on the negative side. Tyrannosaurus has never been found in a group setting. We don't have herds of Tyrannosaurus. We don't have nests or eggs of Tyrannosaurus. And we infer from that, although not necessarily correctly, that Tyrannosaurus may have been a bit of a loner. It makes some sense for a top carnivore that's that large to have covered a large home range. But really, when we talk about that, it's basically guesswork based on some negative evidence.
Paleontology and dinosaurs, you know, from the 1880s and onwards, slowly more and more of each progressive generation learns more about dinosaurs. And it's just the fascination with them. These creatures were, if you compare success, mankind is just a drop in the bucket compared to the success that the dinosaurs had during their rule here on Earth.
But now they are all gone. Time and nature have conspired. first to rid the world of every last dinosaur, and now to keep them buried where they fell. But the dinosaur hunters are determined, and they are also conspiring.
So the process for extracting a fossil is relatively simple. This is the bone you want to take out. You uncover the whole surface of the bone. You dig around it, underneath it. You cap it with plaster, Paris, and burlap, and it looks like a giant mushroom. You knock it off the base of the mushroom, turn it upside down, gut out the excess plaster and dirt, then re-plaster it up and haul it out. 1, 2, 3. Come on, you bastard! It's going! Okay, you want to take the tire out?
Now encased in plaster, the bones, still barely distinguishable from the rock that has hidden them for millennia, remain dangerously fragile. Nature knows how to win, how to protect that which it has laid to rest. The intruders are fought at every turn. Disaster is always at hand, and mistakes will not be forgiven.
The worst case scenario is that you have a flip a block and half the contents comes out with the plaster and half the content stays in the rock. And you get this nice little 15 billion piece jigsaw puzzle that has no map to it. That's the worst case scenario. That's why we're extremely tense and focused on each flip. And especially for a block this big that could weigh, we're guessing right about 6 tons.
You try to make the plaster cast strong enough, thick enough. You try to plaster in supports so that it won't bend and break. You try to plan that it'll break off evenly underneath. You try to plan where it's going to roll.
You know, there's a lot of things that could go wrong because you never really know what the block will do. You know, you cut it in and around the rock, and you think you know the rock, but there could be something right in the middle of the pedestal that you don't know about. And that unknown is what scares us.
Hey guys. But. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. Yes! Yes! It was perfect!
Nearly 5 years have passed since that fateful day of discovery. Inch by inch, piece by piece, the precious remains have been uncovered and wrapped in a protective shell that now will be moved to yet another resting place.
There's a mystique or a mystery about the whole area of paleontology. You find something lying on the ground or sticking out of the side of a hill or just stumble across it. What was it like way back when? I really don't know, but one can dream.
The destiny of the great Saskatchewan Tyrannosaurus rex is to spend its remaining days in a research station. A research station built in a small nearby town called East End, where for generations to come, great secrets will be coaxed from its ancient bones.
We assume, but we don't know for certain. That's what's sort of the important thing of any discovery of T-Rex, because we have only about a dozen half-decent skeletons in the world, which is a small number to base any sort of generalizations on the population. We know nothing of social behavior. We know nothing of growth stages, the gender of T-Rex. all these questions are still relatively unanswered because we don't have that many specimens. So anytime we come across something like this, it is a major find. You know, besides the popularity of from Godzilla to Jurassic Park, T-Rex is really an unknown animal.
The land is quiet once again, but only for a while. It has betrayed the treasures concealed within. The unsolved, unexplained death of one T-Rex has called out irresistibly to those who would hunt these lost creatures and challenge the earth that has hidden them for so long. Dinosaurs ruled the earth, and Tyrannosaurus Rex ruled the dinosaurs. Death has not brought about an ending to the story of this mysterious creature. The passage of time has seen the birth of unrelenting human curiosity and the unveiling of a new, great mystery that is just beginning.